Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Ask a Clutter Boss, the internet's best decluttering advice show. And we are tuning in today on Tuesday, October 28th. If you are joining us live, please say hey in the comments. If you're joining us on replay, please give us a hashtag replay. So, just a quick check in. How is everyone doing right now? How is everyone doing? Give me an emoji that lets me know how you're doing. And if you are struggling with a decluttering problem or question, please pop that into the comments as well. All right, so today we are going to talk about letting go without guilt. And I just want to reassure you at the beginning that releasing stuff does not mean that you are wasteful. It means that you are wise. You are wise. Letting go of stuff does not mean that you are wasteful. I can promise you that. As we all know, a clutter boss ism, it all ends up in a landfill one day. Whether you let it go now, whether it doesn't get let go until you are no longer here, letting go does not mean that you are wasteful, and everything that you own will end up in a landfill one day. Vicky, DA, Mary, and Cheryl, good morning. Thank you for being in the comments. Hello, Susan. Good morning. All right. So many of us hold on to things not because we want them, but because we feel guilty letting go. Maybe we spent money on things. Maybe it's something that somebody gave to us, or maybe it's something we think we should, right? Should use someday. So I want you to really think about this and embrace this idea that your home is not a storage unit for the guilt. It is not a storage unit for the guilt. Number one, your home is not a storage unit. It's a house. Your house is a home. Your home is not a storage unit. Your home is there to support your life, not to be a storage unit, not to be a store, right? We say, let the store be the store. And also not to be a garbage dump. So your home exists to support you. It should not be storage for things that you're afraid to let go of. It should not be really storage at all, which is a big, giant mindset shift. Good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Linda. Your home is not actually for storage. It is for supporting your life right now. Yes, there is some small function of storage, but that should not be the primary function or purpose. The function of your house is to create the infrastructure through which you can thrive in your life. And that does not mean having to hold on to absolutely everything. That is not a sign of thriving. So I am curious, and just in the comments, what's one thing in your home right now that you feel obligated to keep? What's one thing that you feel obligated to keep? And what is the story that comes up when you think about releasing that item? One thing you feel obligated to keep. And then you don't need to share this if you don't want to, but what's the story that comes up when you think about releasing it? And the thing about our stories is they are just that. They are stories. They may be grounded in nonfiction, grounded in things that happened, but by the time we have processed them and we are regurgitating them to ourselves, they are our fictional story. There may be aspects of it that is grounded in fact, but our stories are just that. They're stories that serve a purpose in our life. They're not necessarily true, because truth is one of those, when it comes to personal truth, that's just it. It's personal. It's not universal. Real silverware. Yes, that is a good one. I wonder what the story is about that. Is it something you inherited? The silverware that I inherited, the story that comes with it is that it was very expensive silverware. It was my great aunt's. And because it was expensive and, folks didn't have a lot of money back then, it's even more valuable because of that, right? That's the story. That's the story. Now, I do use my silverware, my good silverware, pretty frequently. But if I didn't and I were just storing it, I would have to really question, is this worth storing it? Yep, exactly. Right. So there's two types of guilty clutter or clutter associated with guilt. There's the type that's tied to shame, obligation, or regret. So when you're thinking about your story, are there elements of shame or obligation or regret included in that story? And some examples of this would be like clothing that you spent good money on. Good money. I love it how when you're not using it, it's good money, right? um, Clothing that you never wore, but you spent your good, hard earned money on. Gifts from relatives that you don't use, but you feel the obligation or you feel a little rude if you give them away. Or how about this one? Hobby supplies for the you that has never really materialized, right? I wanted to be a quilter. I bought all the things. Am I a quilter? No, that hobby has not quite materialized. Will it in the future? Maybe. And if it does, I can certainly repurchase those items again because I'm smarter now. I understand this better. I know that I can always get what I need in the future should I want to be a quilter in the future. So who has that guilty clutter, the guilt clutter, the obligation, the shame, the regret in their house? I guess maybe the question is who doesn't? Then there's also memory clutter. So items that are tied to love or identity or connection. For me personally, memory clutter is my own personal things from my life, my high school things that I made a scrapbook in high school. That's memory clutter. Occasionally my kids do artwork, so I have some of their artwork. That's memory clutter. Family heirlooms, that sort of stuff. Good morning, Ann and Mitzi. Hello, hello. So here's the thing. The guilt clutter, the stuff that is tied to shame and obligation and regret, that is punishing clutter. That punishes you. Every time you see it, you feel a negative feeling. When you feel a negative feeling, that is you punishing you. It's not the item punishing you. You're punishing yourself. Items can't punish you. Memory clutter comforts you to a point. Sometimes it becomes too heavy to carry. Sometimes it changes. And here is the big takeaway with this one. You do not owe every single memory shelf space. You do not owe every single memory shelf space. Those memories are part of you. They are why you are who you are today. You can't declutter a memory. You could forget a memory. That's true, but you can't eliminate a memory. That's really interesting. Good morning, Dee Dee. So not every memory deserves shelf space in your house. It's already a part of who you are. So how do we start to let go of this stuff without guilt? You can, number one, acknowledge how you feel, right? So I feel bad for letting this go because it it was tied to shame or obligation or regret, right? I feel bad for letting this go. But you could also then take that and say, I am thankful for what this item gave me. It gave me a lesson. It represented a season. It represented an experience. I'm thankful for that. And its purpose is complete. Keeping it isn't honoring its purpose. It's actually trapping it. It's trapping it, right? It already served its purpose. That's complete. The lesson is there. The history is there. The experience is there. Now I am just keeping it trapped here on my shelf and I'm losing valuable shelf space to it. So you can tell yourself, I am honoring this item by releasing it, by not keeping it trapped any longer. I'm not honoring it by storing it and by feeling bad or negative every time I see it. This is how we start to break that emotional loop. This is not wasteful. This is wise stewardship of our stuff. Is that landing? Is that making sense? Give me a thumbs up. So clutter can also represent unfinished emotional business. A lot of times, if you have, say, the guilt from keeping a gift that you don't really like, that might be the unfinished emotional business of being a people pleaser. And not that there's anything wrong with being a people pleaser, but there's a limit to how much people pleasing we can do and how much we can store to represent that, right? So what is this item representing that I can still work on? I don't need to keep the item to still work on the unfinished emotional business. I can let this go and still work on being a people pleaser without keeping this. Money guilt, oftentimes that's like the fear of repeating mistakes. Like, I bought this sweater, I spent my good hard earned money on it, and I made a mistake because I don't wear it. So I'm going to hang on to this because I don't want to repeat that mistake. And somehow by hanging on to this, it's negating the mistake. Even though I'm never going to wear this, somebody else could be wearing it right now. I'm never going to wear it, but I don't want to repeat that mistake. So I'm not going to let it go. Well, the lesson is there, whether you keep the sweater or not. You can learn and grow from the lesson, but you don't need to keep the physical representation of it. And then, of course, the hobby guilt, grief over who you thought you would become, right? There's a lot of grieving involved in identity stuff, hobbies, items that might represent, who you thought you would, a way you would show up for yourself or your family. Um, this is a little side note story, but when my youngest daughter was little, she hated being read to. She hated it. She wanted to read to herself before she could read, before she could even form words. She wanted to be in control of that time. She didn't want to snuggle up and read with you. She would rip the book out of your hand and she would just make kind of sounds to read to herself. And I would try to read to her, but it was an unpleasant experience. And I felt a lot of guilt over that. Like, I couldn't read to my own daughter. Everything turned out okay. But I remember when I was letting go of some of those children's books, it wasn't like necessarily a really positive memory, and that made me feel bad. But there was some emotional growth there, and I recognized that. And you don't need the item to deal with the emotional stuff that you need to deal with. So decluttering can be considered like an emotional editing. You're editing the emotional side of things and learning and growing through it. You also are kind of rewriting your story to match who you are now. I have so many I have so many clothes, not enough closet space. I spent the money and I want the clothes I bought. Yeah, so here's the thing, in the comments, you have the option to keep as much as you want to of any collection. That being said, you only have a certain amount of storage space in your house. So if you want to keep the clothing, then other collections need to shrink so you can accommodate that collection with the storage that you have. So it's just a matter of negotiating stuff versus space. If you want to keep the stuff and you're going to use it, then what can you let go of to create the space for that collection, to honor the collection, right? To honor the money that you spent on it. If stuff is just being kind of shoved away and in boxes or bins or stored in a way that's going to ruin it, you're not honoring the money, you're not honoring the experience. Really interesting to kind of think about it that way, right? So your action step for today is one guilt-free release. We're going to pick one thing that we feel guilty, and that's why we're not letting it go. We're going to share the lesson or the memory out loud, and you can just share it with yourself. You don't need to share it with anyone else. You could just speak it out loud. And then we're going to express gratitude. Express gratitude for the experience, for the memory, and let it go. Donate it, pass it on to charity, recycle it, let it go with gratitude and intention. So when you do that, also feel free to share with me because I would love to hear about it. Yeah. So Mary's sharing that she got a stuffy from her mom when she was in the hospital, and it wasn't really my style. Mom is gone now, but the stuffy is from mom, so I can't let it go. And Mary, that is okay. The other side of this is we don't have to let anything go that we're not ready or wanting to let go of. That's okay. This is your personal journey. And we're starting with the easy stuff first. The easy, if we're letting go of stuff that is kind of shrouded in guilt, find the easiest of those things and let that go. Start with easy always. See how it feels. See if you're okay with it. Or maybe do a two-step process where you decide it's going to go, but you put it over to the side in a box or a bag for a week or two. see how it feels. And then if you're still okay with letting it go in a week or two, let it go then. There's a way to do this that is not going to be injuring your nervous system. And in conclusion here, if that guilt has been living in your rent-free in your mind, it is okay to let it go. You deserve a home that holds peace, not pressure. Peace, not pressure. Right? That's what we want our home to be. A beacon of peace, not a pressure vessel. So we're going to start really small, start really easy, and get on that path towards calm. All right, you guys, it was so nice seeing everyone today. I hope that this was a helpful Ask a Clutter Boss. Please support our small business, like, comment, and share. Sending you all lots of love and strength on this process. I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye, everyone.